He is affectionately called the belly master. For us, he is the Lord and Master, the Guru, a modern day mystic, the most dependable friend that one could ever hope for, irrespective of circumstance, time, gender, or age group. You can always depend on him. He uses a very special term to address each person in the Sangat, Pare, which means loved one. Each time one hears the word Pare in his voice, the heart flutters, time seems to stop. It's extremely healing, extremely loving for the spirit, for the mind, for the body. Always giving you unconditional love, treasured guidance. And I know it almost sounds too good to be true, but for us, and for each member of this blessed Sangat, he is the Lord incarnate himself. There was something very unique and extremely special about Tarneiv Ji even before he was born. As she glanced upon his expecting mother, a lady saint, Nirmal Behan Ji gently prophesied that someone very unique would be taking birth, and that his fragrance would spread far and wide. And it was a stormy late afternoon on the 15th of August 1973, Tarneiv Ji's birth took place at Delhi. From childhood, his inclination has been towards dhyan, spirituality, with a special liking and fondness for Lord Krishna. From a very early age, the mysteries of the universe intrigued Tarneiv Ji. It was then and there a spark got ignited within him, and it was from there his journey, his quest into spirituality started. Even as a young 17-year-old, Tarneiv Ji was very different from the ordinary, and this is what his college friend Gurjeet Singh fondly recalls about his mystique, energy, intuitive ability, and the practice of meditation.
ਜਦੋਂ 17 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਲਜ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਿਲੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਇੱਕ ਅਲੱਗ ਜੀ ਚਮਕ ਸੀਗੀ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਇੱਕ ਖਿੱਚ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਸੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਣ ਦੀ। ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਇੰਸਟੈਂਸ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਸੀ ਕਾਫੀ ਸ਼ਾਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਅੰਕਲ ਆਏ ਕਿ ਵੈਸੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗੇ, ਮੈਂ ਬੜਾ ਪਰੇਸ਼ਾਨ ਹੈਗਾ, ਮੇਰਾ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਲਾਸ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਮੇਰੀ ਫੈਕਟਰੀ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਗਈ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੜੇ ਸਮਾਈਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਕਿਹਾ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੰਕਲ ਕੀ ਪਰੇਸ਼ਾਨ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ 4 ਗੱਡੀਆਂ ਹੋਣਗੀਆਂ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਹੋਏਗਾ। ਤੇ ਅੰਕਲ ਹੱਸ ਕੇ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ। 3-4 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਦ ਉਹੀ ਅੰਕਲ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੇ, ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਸੱਚੀ ਸੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਫੈਕਟਰੀ ਵੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ, 3-4 ਗੱਡੀਆਂ, ਡਰਾਈਵਰ, ਮਤਲਬ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਹਸੀ ਮਜ਼ਾਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਉਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਚੱਲ ਕੇ ਨਿਕਲ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਸੀ ਸੱਚ। ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ 30-35 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇਖੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਲੋਕ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਫਰੋਮ ਨੋਵੇਅਰ ਔਰ ਉਹ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ, ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਫਲੋਰਿਸ਼ਿੰਗ ਹੋ ਗਏ। ਜੋ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਮਿਹਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਬਲੈਸਿੰਗ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਸਭ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ। ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਮੈਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਡੀਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੋਣਾ। ਆਂਟੀ ਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੰਮੀ ਨੇ, ਕਿ ਬੇਟਾ ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਗੁਰਜੀਤ ਆਏਗਾ, ਕਹਿਣਾ ਬੈਠ ਜਾਏਗਾ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਧਿਆਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗੇ। ਅਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਬੈਠਣਾ 1-2 ਘੰਟੇ, ਮਤਲਬ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ 18 ਸਾਲ 19 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ 20 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਮੈਡੀਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ। ਫਿਰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੁਖਮਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਪਾਠ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋਣਾ ਅਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਦਿਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 6 ਸੁਖਮਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਪਾਠ ਕਰਨੇ। ਤਾਂ ਜੋ ਮੇਰਾ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਬਿਲੀਵ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਉਸ ਏਜ ਵਿੱਚ 17-18 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਉਹ ਰਿਲੀਜਨ ਤੋਂ ਅਲੱਗ ਸੀ, ਰਿਲੀਜਨ ਤੋਂ ਪਰੇ ਸੀ। ਮਤਲਬ ਹੀ ਵਾਜ਼ ਨਾਟ ਬਾਉਂਡ ਬਾਈ ਐਨੀ ਰਿਲੀਜਨ। ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੰਤ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪ ਨਾਮ ਜਪੇ ਔਰ ਦੂਜਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਾਵੇ। ਤੇ ਤਰਨ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਦ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੈਕਟਿਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਬਚਪਨ ਤੋਂ 17 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਤੋਂ ਜੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰੈਕਟਿਸ ਕਰਨੀ, ਧਿਆਨ ਕਰਨਾ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਫਰੈਂਡਸ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ। ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇਹੀ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਚੀਜ਼ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੈਕਟਿਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਆਪਣੇ ਤੱਕ ਰਿਸਟ੍ਰਿਕਟਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੱਖੀ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਪ੍ਰੈਕਟਿਸ ਸਿੱਖ ਲਈ ਜਾਂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਨੇ ਰੱਬ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਚੀਜ਼ ਅੱਗੇ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ।
Ever since a very young age of 17, Tarneiv Ji has been chanting, a beloved practice which he holds very dear to his heart, even today. He calls it a rendezvous with the divine. He is a harbinger of hope. He diligently practices what he shares with his friends and family. In fact, his own commitment towards his practice is extremely inspiring. Being in the material world, attending to his daily activities with deep interest. He uses modern technology, gadgets, etc. for the benefit of others. And yet, he holds the Lord very dearly to his heart. He says that everybody is looking for that solution, a sort of quick fix to fix everyday problems. Practice is that tool which works in our favor for our overall well-being and life in general. It helps extract the highest in us to bring out the best of us and offer that to the world, in whichever stream one might be.
सिंपली अपनी अटेंशन को अपने शरीर के अंदर ले जाना है, कहीं पे भी। या तो चेस्ट में, या पाँव, राइट पाँव में, राइट हथेली में, या चेस्ट के अंदर, wherever you are comfortable। अगर आंखें बंद करके करेंगे तो बहुत आपकी पूरी शरीर आपका हेल्प करेगा। And something miraculous might happen. It's not hard. Because आपके अंदर प्राण है, आप जीवित हैं। The blood is rushing through the entire system. The arteries and veins, they are carrying and just taking this blood. Whole transformation of blood is happening. You are breathing in and out, श्वास चल रहे हैं. So the whole process of life is going on without your any intervention. It's good that you are not doing anything there. Just be there. और मजे की बात है कि जो प्राण जब चल रहे हैं, जो प्राणों की जो नदी जो चल रही है, उसका जो प्रवाह है अंदर, वो निरंतर चलता है and it celebrates life in a way. The celebration of life is happening inside.
इस भाव को रखें कि नाम के अंदर, चांटिंग के अंदर नाम ही छिपे बैठे हैं, कृष्ण इसके अंदर हैं। और वो कृष्ण कौन? ये नहीं कि सिर्फ जो बांसुरी बजाते थे, जो पूरे सर्वत्र, कृष्णा माने सर्वत्र, हर जगह सर्वव्यापी। और कृष्ण का मतलब सर्वज्ञ, सब कुछ जानते हैं। पहला जो हो गया omni present, present everywhere, and then सब कुछ जानते हैं, omniscient। And then क्या हुआ? क्योंकि हर जगह है, हर चीज जानते हैं, सर्वव्यापी हैं, सर्वज्ञ हैं, तो सर्वशक्तिशाली या सर्वशक्तिमान भी हैं। So he is omnipotent also। And he और she में कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। ये तो सिर्फ एक अंग्रेजी और हिंदी की उसके बात है। और वो एनर्जी जो वो ही और शी से भी परे है। और अगर आप ज्यादा चाहते हैं तो वो सखा भी हैं। सखा मीन्स आपके सबसे ज्यादा साथ में फ्रेंड है। सखा भी श्री कृष्ण, सहयोगी भी हैं, क्योंकि सखा है साथ में करते हैं, तो सहयोगी भी श्री कृष्ण। सहयोगी हैं तो सहयोग सिर्फ ये नहीं कि कभी किया, सदैव साथ चलते हैं, तो सहचर भी श्री कृष्ण, साथ साथ चलते हैं आप। और सदैव चलते हैं तो जो सदैव है वो भी श्री कृष्ण, सहचर भी श्री कृष्ण, सहयोगी भी श्री कृष्ण, सखा भी श्री कृष्ण, हर चीज में कृष्ण। और वो कहें जी भाई साधना अलग है, साधना कैसे अलग है? सिमरन, सिमरन जो हम बार बार याद करते हैं, ईश्वर का स्तुति करते हैं, सिमरन श्री कृष्ण, स्तुति श्री कृष्ण। और सिमरन करेंगे, स्तुति करेंगे तो क्या लगेगी? समाधि, समाधि भी श्री कृष्ण। और समाधि से क्या होगा? आप साधु बन जाएंगे, तो साधुत्व भी श्री कृष्ण। और साधुत्व से क्या फायदा होगा? आप संपूर्ण, जो आपकी फीलिंग है वो आ जाएगी, तो संपूर्णता भी श्री कृष्ण। सिमरन भी होगा, स्तुति भी होगी, समाधि भी लगेगी। समाधि लगेगी तो हो सकता है सिद्धियां भी सारी आ जाएंगी, तो सिद्धियां भी श्री कृष्ण। बट उस सिद्धियों को संभालने के लिए एक स्थिरता चाहिए, बैलेंस चाहिए, पॉइस चाहिए, इक्वानिमिटी चाहिए, तो वो भी श्री कृष्ण। ऐसे भाव कहीं पर भी ना जाएं, यहीं पर सब कुछ मिल जाएगा। स्थिरता, स्थिरता जो है, जो पॉइस है, दैट इज द बेसिक प्रीरेक्विजिट टू एक्सपीरियंस एनीथिंग व्हिच इज हेवनली। Otherwise, it's just like a figment of imagination, just like a dry leaf, you get carried away by just so-called the wind. स्थिरता बहुत जरूरी है, वॉइस बहुत जरूरी है। चीजें आएंगी जाएंगी, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। और जाएंगी आएंगी क्या? स्थिरता तो है ही है। सदैव श्री कृष्ण, सदैव हमेशा ही रहते हैं, कहीं नहीं जा सकते। सदैव है, कहीं पर भी चले जाए आप, कहीं पर भी जाए, वहां पर भी श्री कृष्ण। पास्ट में श्री कृष्ण, फ्यूचर में श्री कृष्ण, प्रेजेंट में श्री कृष्ण, हर जगह श्री कृष्ण। ऐसा भाव, पूरी ये जर्नी बन गई आपकी, शून्यता से संपूर्णता, शून्यता से संपूर्णता, ये जाना, ये अनुभव करना ही चांट।
Over the years, he's explored many chants and many different styles of chanting, until one day, on a visit to Uttarkashi in India, in the year 1994, Tarneiv Ji met a saint who casually asked him to chant Aum Namoh Bhagwate Vaasudevaya. The saint's casual request left him divided. And his heart was in a turmoil as to which mantra he should chant. For quite some time, he chanted the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The saint's casual request and words stayed with him wherever he went. His heart reverberated with his simple words. On a trip to Chennai, Tarneiv Ji made a visit to a temple near Basant Nagar. His heart still filled with the saint's words. He made a decision. He had made up his mind on which mantra to chant. As he looked towards the altar from a distance to take blessings from the god, he bowed down. To his surprise, a flower fell out of nowhere into his palm. He took that as a blessing and began chanting Aum Namoh Bhagwate Vaasudevaya. When he met with his Guruji, Swami Krishnananda Ji Maharaj, Tarneiv Ji asked him about the mantra. Guruji readily approved of the mantra and asked him to chant the same. Tarneiv Ji would often ask for a guru. Guruji would always say that Tarneiv Ji would need a guru to attain this chant. But then he would always pinpoint at something else. And then one day, the realization dawned upon Sri Tarneiv Ji that something else was Baba Neem Karoli. Tarneiv Ji lovingly acknowledges that Guruji introduced him to Baba Neem Karoli. And since then, 1994, Tarneiv Ji has been chanting this divine melody. In the year 1997, Tarneiv Ji moved to the United States. The next 15 years from there on were spent residing between United States and Canada. However, there was a point in his journey in 2010 where he experienced a period of immense suffering.
Beautiful thing about suffering is very democratic and is unbiased. It does not spare anybody. Like peace and joy, suffering is also very universal. Because the suffering itself is the door to the divine.
During this entire period, Tarneiv Ji tried to keep his attention within the body. While he kept his attention there, he experienced a strong pull from the belly area. As he attended to the call, he felt time had lost its wings and stood still. The experience greatly fascinated him, and his fascination for the belly area continued for a few years, and he would be submerged for hours experiencing the abysmal bliss of the belly area. The circumstances around him were not so congenial, but he felt the belly area was like a tropical retreat where he experienced peace for hours and then radiated the same. And we are here today because I've requested his real sister Avya Ji to take us through the events of that one eventful night which took place in the September of 2017, where a deadly Russell viper bit him. What happened on that fateful night? How he reached the hospital? What happened thereon from there then? How was the chant different from prior to that and post that? Is the real incident which Avya Ji I'm going to request. She'll take it from here.
It was around 8:30 or so on that eventful night when I got a call and I was outside that he has been bitten by something and he has been taken to a nearby hospital. So I rushed to the hospital and was there almost in 8 to 9 minutes because I was very close by. What had happened was that he was having a stroll after his food at around 8ish in the evening, and this was within the premises that he was walking, and the vehicles were parked inside, and he could hear some kind of a hissing sound. And that hiss, it seemed like was a tire from where some air was passing or something. So he just leaned, tried to bend and see that what it is next to the car. And in that moment, there was something which bit him on his feet. And later on, it turned out to be a deadly viper. I'm sure that viper was also not a normal viper, because he was destined and he had to play this so that the chant could come in with this beautiful melody and reach out to millions and be the solace for everyone. And from there it started. I saw him lying there and with, on the hospital bed. And when I went to see him, he just started smiling, and I could see that there was a drip-like thing next to him. And to see him, first of all, in that zone, for me, it was like, and of course, he saw me and he knew what I would be going through. So he just gave me a smile. He said, "See, something has bitten me here." When you see in front of you somebody who is everything to you, and you can understand what it feels like. We all, for anything small or big, whenever we have, he's the only one that we get to. And here he was there, and I was feeling, what is it that I can do? So I tried calling then Mr. Shivraj Patil, Justice Patil. As I recall that he has a hospital, and when I called him, he said that we should immediately come to his hospital as it has better facilities. So, and he offered that, he could send the ambulance, but the hospital that he was admitted in, it had an ambulance, and they said that we can arrange it quickly so that you can take him to the other hospital. So the next thing was, who's going to go in this ambulance? So he said that you come along with me in the ambulance and the other car can just follow. And here we were in that look-alike ambulance, because it was a small van actually. And there was one bed where he had to lie down, and there was some kind of a stool on which I sat, and there was this drip of anti-venom which was going on, and there was a driver in that van. The driver who did not understand either English or Hindi. So communication was like he could only see the panic on the face. And here he was. When I was looking at him, I was like, oh, he's been bitten and there is this anti-venom and there is so much of anxiety that when are we going to reach this hospital? And he is just at peace. He was chanting, and then he raised his head just to look around, and I'm telling him continuously, please lie down, because I did not know what is right and what is not. The jerks are there in that van, and I'm getting anxious calls, holding this. I mean, that moment, I really don't know. Of course, it has to be certain blessing to have witnessed all that, because that also I feel today was a grace that he was having on me somehow to, take care of these things. And we were there drizzling, the van is, and peak traffic time would have been around 9:30ish that we were on this flyover. And it was jam-packed. There was no way that possibly we could have, had our way to the hospital faster than that. On the other side of the flyover, there was a set of people who just came offering that they can lift this ambulance to the other side of the road. But in 2-3 seconds, Everything cleared off. The traffic just seemed to move. It was like, we were just moving so fast towards the hospital. We reached there in hardly any time. And the moment we reached there, we had the doctors waiting at the parking where the ambulance was entering, and also Mr. Patil standing there. And from there, he was taken to the ICU directly. Again, I had so many fears. So one after the other, he was helping me tide over everything. Even in that situation, he was thinking about everyone. He was thinking about everyone. When we were at the hospital, he was inquiring about the people who were there, attending to them. I mean, it seemed like that, it was just because perhaps there was some larger reason that all this was happening. And then when we went there, the doctors, they started his treatment. He said, you stay here in the hospital today. You stay here tonight, and please arrange some room for her if that's possible. And so a room was arranged, and for the first time, I was there alone, and he was there in the ICU. So it was very difficult. That night was difficult because, it was a strange thing that within the heart, that nothing is going to happen. But at the same time, there was some anxiety. And it would have been 6 a.m. in the morning that I had a knock on the door, and somebody just came in, and he said that he's calling you upstairs. I rushed up there, and when I went there, so he says, "Kithe si tu?" So I told him that I was there and I was in the hospital. He said, "So what were you doing?" So I told him that, I was like, I was waiting that I thought that maybe you were sleeping or they would be giving you some treatment because it's an ICU. So he says, okay. And then came to know that from the first report that they had in the morning, because there was so many hours after which they could do that test, he said that the blood was getting better and he's out of the danger thing. And but the things would go on, the treatment had to go on. The whole episode, because then since it was day, so people started visiting, they started coming, and he was chanting. The next day itself, when I went there, he was chanting, and the doctor told us that he had been chanting for how many hours he didn't know. And the chant was different, because prior to this we had heard him chant since ever, and we used to repeat with him that melody. But this was a very different chant. Perhaps, when we hear him today, that's what perhaps the entire thing, what happened at that time, was to bring this chant to us. And he had to go through all that so that, we could get this chant, which has his life energy. As he says that anybody who chants, he is always there. He's there in the chant. And that is what is so special about this.
Thank you, Abhay, for sharing this entire incident so vividly with us. It almost feels like as we were present there. And he's bestowed upon us this beautiful, beautiful chant, through which, just humming it or just chanting it in the way it's been taught to us sort of puts your mind at ease. Whatever be the circumstance you're facing at that point in time, whatever be the stress, it just naturally subsides. Aum Namoh Bhagwate Vaasudevaya, when you hear that in his voice, it has a divinely profound effect on each one of us.
Aum Namoh Bhagwate Bhagwate Vaasudevaya.
You know, the chant, it has a certain arrangement of words, it has a certain flow to it, which he's taught us all. Where the first two repetitions of the mantra, Aum Namoh Bhagwate Vaasudevaya, are spoken in a way as if inviting the Lord.
Aum Namoh Bhagwate Vaasudevaya.
And then the third one is like a celebration. The feeling and the bhav, when you say it with, is like a celebration that the Lord is there, right there with you.
Aum Namoh Bhagwate Vaasudevaya.
यदि चांट करते हैं हम लोग ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, द्वादशी मंत्र है, इसमें 12 अक्षर हैं, 4 शब्द हैं, वो ऐसे करें कि पूरी अनुभूतियां, पूरे जो सेंसेशंस हैं आपकी बॉडी के अंदर, वो सब चांट कर रही हैं. Only then it becomes a meditation. Otherwise it's just a rote empty repetition, helps you to put you to sleep. For insomniacs it's a big blessing, actually, can't be denied, but cannot invoke those sparks of awareness within you. It can help you, very soporific in nature. Soporific means it can induce sleep, but nothing to do with your awareness. क्योंकि यदि आप पूरी सेंसेशंस के साथ चांट कर रहे हैं उसको फील करके, तो यू हैव नो चॉइस बट टू बी अलर्ट, टू बी अटेंटिव. और ऐसे चांट करें कि सारी पाँव की जो उंगली है, जो छोटी जो टो है, उसके अंदर जो सेंसेशंस हैं वो भी भगवान राम का नाम जप रही है, या वो भी ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय कह रही है. तब कृष्ण हैज नो चॉइस बट टू बी विद यू, नॉट टू प्रेजेंट इटसेल्फ बट टू बी विद यू. एंड देन वंस दिस हैपेंस, so-called happens, then you look into the mirror and then you say the Krishna is divine, the Krishna is beautiful, because you yourself are the Lord.
When he chanted, time simply flew. In his own words, as he says, the snake left a sweet venom inside, which became an elixir. After the snake bite on the 14th of September, Tarneiv Ji practiced the same mantra, Aum Namoh Bhagwate Vaasudevaya, however, in a new melody. He practiced the new melody for 106 days consecutively. And on 28th December 2017, something strange happened, which coincided with the passing away of the lady saint, Siddhima. Subsequent to which, after the 108th day and 111th day of chanting, strange and miraculous occurrences took place, as experienced by many members of this ever-growing Sangat.
My fondest memory of Tarneiv Ji was when he was with us in San Francisco and my middle son was being born, and I spent all night in his room just talking and staying up all night just the day before delivery. And I felt the same kind of comfort factor in Virginia. It was after 9/11, 4 days after 9/11, my youngest son was born. It was a time of great turmoil, a lot of confusion, and Tarneiv Ji said everything will be all right. And we find ourselves in this pandemic, and I find solace and comfort in Tarneiv Ji's words over the phone or via text that everything will be all right.
I got this experience that there was only space, there was no house, there was no such thing as first floor and all that, and I was, as if I was with him, I was just floating in space. And in the morning when when he came out of the meditation, whole night we did meditation, and in the morning when he came out of the meditation, he told me, you can ask me for anything today. He said, this is back in 1998. He said, once in a while I come into this position, in this situation. Today you can ask me anything and don't hesitate. Anything in the world. I was so overwhelmed. I said, you just keep me in your prayers. And that day until today, if there is any simple issue in my life also, with my family or whatever, either his call will come or his message comes. That's how he is.
I still remember very distinctly, I was with my father in the ICU, and I knew he was not going to live very long. The doctors were trying to restore him. I was sitting there holding his hand. They were trying to revive him, but I could see that he wasn't going to survive, and seconds and minutes later he was gone. I got up from his bed and walked out, and the same moment the phone rings, and Hemant tells me that Tarneiv Ji asked him to call me and check. And obviously, a major episode had happened in my life, and all he said was he wants you to know that he's with you. This is just one instance. Actually, we could write pages and pages about what all has happened in our lives where he's played such an instrumental role.
ये उस समय की बात है कि जब तरनीव जी रोहिणी में रहते थे और एक मेडिटेशन सेशन रखा था सुबह 7 बजे का, तो मेरे को वहाँ जल्दी पहुँचना था और मेरे बहुत ही सिवियर टूथ एक हो रहा था। तो जैसे ही मैं पहुँचा तो तरनीव जी को आभास हुआ कि there's something wrong, so he called me in his room and asked me what is the problem. So I told him that I have a very very severe toothache and it's unbearable. ये सुनते ही उन्होंने ऐसे हाथ करा, एक इलायची आई और उन्होंने आधी इलायची मतलब तोड़ी और आधी इलायची मुझे दी खाने के लिए. So within a minute मेरा सारा toothache खत्म हो गया, and I was there throughout the day, and there was no problem at all.
With his love, Sri Tarneiv Ji continues to spread great joy, happiness and bliss in the lives of people across the globe, unconditionally, making the world an enriched place. We are all very fortunate to have Tarneiv Ji share his simple yet profound teachings and practice.